Welcome to Celebrating Everyday People, where we recognize those amazing people doing amazing work out there. My co host is Malcolm Berman, and my name is Yana Larson. You can find us on malcolmpresents.com and on Malcolm's YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, and we're on Buzzsprout in all major directories and beyond as we enhance our online presence. Today, our guest is Jennie Spanos. Jennie, back for part two because she has so much to tell us, is co director of Move to Amend and a lifelong believer that democracy is a living, breathing force, something to be nurtured, protected, and passed down through action. Her journey to leadership hasn't been straightforward. As a military brat, a single mom, and worker in fields from construction to journalism, she's learned to build community and fight for justice wherever she lands. From reporting on corporate power's hold over our democracy to joining movements in the streets, Jennie's life has been shaped by a deep love for people and the planet. Today, she again brings that experience and passion to the movement for real democracy, rooted in justice, community power, and freedom from corporate rule. Welcome, Jennie.
Jenny, for some reason you're muted. I can't hear you.
I was trying to mute so y'all didn't have background
Oh,
in
okay.
the
Now you're
introduction.
on.
Thank you so much, Yana, for inviting me back. And Malcolm, it's great to see you again. Honored to be here. And thank you for this opportunity to share the work that we're doing. As you said, I am with Move to Amend. We're a national coalition of hundreds of thousands of people and hundreds of organizations. I think we have over 800 endorsing organizations right now. And what we're doing is we're working to end what we call corporate rule and legalize democracy. That's the tagline, but the bottom line is we're trying to end corporate constitutional rights. And these are this insane doctrine that the Supreme Court has said that a corporation is a human being entitled to inalienable rights meant for we the people, and that money equals speech and it can be given without limits in our elections. So it's been given the power of speech. So these doctrines are over 140 years old. The first one I think we talked about in the first episode was hijacked was the 14th Amendment, which was meant to free Black slaves. And for me, one of the most erroneous ones. And since then, they've hijacked the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Seventh Amendment, First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And then most recently, corporations were given religious freedoms, which was used to strip healthcare away from working. Um, it's a long history and a long haul of corporate power, corporations taking power, intended for we the people, and meant for human beings and not corporations. I wanted to address, I noticed on your Facebook page, one of the protesters I had mentioned in the last one that I could give plenty of examples of corporate rule. And the question was, what do we mean by that? So in short, anything that you can have industrial complex behind. So whether it's military industrial complex, the healthcare industrial complex, nonprofit industrial complex, the prison industrial complex. All of these are examples of institutions meant for we the people that have been taken over by corporations and by a profit directive. So their goal being making profit for shareholders instead of, say, healthcare for individuals. Um, you know, as y'all know, we're the only, Western country that doesn't have health. We give tons of money, for example, to Israel, and they have healthcare for all of their citizens, and we don't. So these are just examples of what I mean by corporate rules. So I wanted to clarify that for your
Yeah,
posters.
I have a question. If corporations are individuals, why can they claim corporate taxes? Why don't they pay individual taxes like we do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of questions like that, but and maybe that's another test case. But right now, they hold all the power, and they just like, I recently watched Nuremberg, and I've been really kind of fixating on watching Nazis lose lately. And so I've been watching these movies a lot. And one of the things that was mentioned in there, the attorney, that kind of caught my attention is that um, that it all started with laws, right? They started this persecution of Jewish people in their communities with laws similar to laws that we have been starting to implement. And that's what's happened here. It started with laws. But they didn't write the laws. No legislation has passed, uh, passed on inalienable rights to corporations. These are all judicial fiat, but now they're ensconced in our laws. And so, and how deep is this problem, right? Well, we had a fellow who's now our political justice director that just graduated law school a little over a year ago. And he started law school because, as he called it, he went down, he learned about Citizens United. He fell down this Citizens United rabbit hole. And, that's how he came to Move to Amend. And that's the reason that he started going to law school is he wanted to make a difference. He felt like this is the law is where it happened, the law is where he can make a difference. So he went to law school with this goal in mind of finding solutions to this problem. And what he found is that not one time did they go over corporate constitutional rights through his entire law school experience. And he finally got a class that was going to talk about Citizens United. And like I said, he was in a fellowship with Move to Amend at that time and working as a fellow. And he he came back. We were so excited. He was like, "This is where I'm going to shine." And he came back and he's like, "They skipped the chapter."
Uh,
So people are graduating law school without this fundamental knowledge of who actually the Constitution is now protecting, or what
well,
actually the Constitution is now protecting. And most recently, and I feel like we need to kind of raise the alarm bells on this. But most recently, AI. They're starting to talk about AI having rights and that they're becoming more sentient. And again, AI is a corporate created, you know, tool, if you will, with the means of making profit always, but it's a tool of corporations um, to gain power. And when you have inalienable rights, then protected under the Constitution, you have power in our country, right? And what's happened is now that money is equates to speech, those who have more money have more power. And since a corporation also has the protections of free speech and the protections of privacy, and we can no longer like do surprise inspections. OSHA can no longer surprise inspect a polluting what they are concerned if a corporation is polluting or breaking the rules somehow that's going to impact the community. They can't surprise inspect them anymore. They have to go through the same process that they would have to go to come to an individual's home and come inside. Although they did try to change that for individuals in Minnesota or broadly across the country with ICE.
Well,
As we
just in addition to that, with the former our administration now, they're doing away with a lot of the EPA regulations, so they don't have to inspect the big corporations because they could pollute legally. They could pollute our
Yeah, we
waters.
had
They
this
could pollute our
veneer
air.
of absolutely. We had this veneer of environmental protection, right? But it's been corporate. It's been under corporate capture for a long time. Environmental protection, our immigration right now. They're buying these massive warehouses that they're paying exorbitant amounts of money for, like $100,000 piece of property. And I'm just throwing that number out. We know you can't get a piece of property or a warehouse for that price anymore, but they're paying like 3 times that amount to purchase this, and with the goal of housing human beings in these spaces. And for profit, these will be for profit entities. I live in Florida. It is, it's their private for profit prison industry is booming here. Legislators have signed contracts with these corporations that they will keep them at 98% capacity. So what happens if we don't have people breaking the law at that level, you know? And not only that, like um even more insidious, if you will, is that their 501c3 or 501ks are getting invested in these private for profit industries. The police departments, judges, the so they're literally profiting, or their retirement is dependent on keeping them at mass at 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 full levels at 98%. So these are the examples of corporate rule that I talk about. And I wanted to make clear too. So the way there's a process. Amending the Constitution is very difficult. We currently have a bill in the House, House Joint Resolution HJR 54. It was introduced by Pramila Jayapal. We currently have 72 co-sponsors, plus our lead sponsor, Pramila Jayapal. It has to be introduced every Congress. So we're in the 119th Congress. After the next election in January 6th, we will go into the 120th Congress. So we have to reintroduce every 2 years, and not only try to get those reps back on, but educate new reps that have come into office or that we haven't been able to educate up till then. And there's a very steep threshold. Also, I want to kind of clarify too, like right now we are working towards the 29th Amendment. That's how many times the Constitution has been amended. The first 10 amendments, of course, there were holdouts that said unless we protect some rights of individuals, we're not going to ratify the Constitution. So these were put on afterwards, right? And then the so we say we're doing the 29th Amendment because technically the 28th Amendment should be ensconced in law by now. They met the threshold of 2/3 of the House and Senate, and the proposal was sent directly to the states. First, it goes to the archives, processed, and then goes to the states, right? And then it comes back and it's ratified with 3/4 of the states approving via legislature. Now, the problem is Congress sometimes puts like a deadline on the mandate, and that's what happened with the Equal Rights Amendment. But it's met the threshold; it's sitting there, and it just hasn't been certified.
Yeah. Again, what is the 28th Amendment?
Equal Rights Amendment,
Equal rights.
which gives equal rights to women. It's been long, hard fought for. It's been over 100 years. Recently, they came out with this ad campaign that's actually pretty brilliant, and it's they said they're incorporating womanhood so we can finally have our rights protected under the Constitution for the first time in
I
history.
thought that was a long time ago.
Right. It was a long time ago, and it's met the threshold. It's just sitting at the archives and hasn't been certified yet.
Oh,
So out of respect to that, to the work that they've done, we do not call the We the People Amendment the 29th Amendment or the 28th Amendment. We call it the 29th Amendment. And we're still pushing for, it to be certified. It's met the threshold. It should be certified. But again, powers that be do not want we the people to have those powers, right? We can see that over and over again. And which brings us to why, like the No Kings. I think I mentioned it last time I was here. Um,
Yes.
Over 8 million people participated in the No Kings Action this time. That is the largest mass action in US history. But what was the demand? How did we push the envelope to build that pressure? So we are organizing. We have organized, and we are coming together. But the struggle for democracy, it doesn't stop at the ballot box. It doesn't stop on a weekend protest. It lives in our organizing
Yeah,
spaces.
yeah, but the thing is, you had that great turnout, the 8 million,
Yeah.
but there's no follow-up on it. The only one that ever
Well,
follows up is Rachel Maddow in the news I'm talking about.
well,
Rachel
I
Maddow
think
is the only one.
it's just not getting all the airtime and whatever. I don't know. Maybe Jenny, would you agree?
Well, it's corporate media.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, the media is owned by the billionaire class. It's owned by 10, 10, this space here is owned and ran and operated by regular everyday people, right? Normal people, not part of the billionaire class. That's why you're having conversations with, everyday people and
Well,
getting
yeah.
messages out.
When you do your show, do me a favor, the show, share it with everybody that you know. We do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the only way
We
we
have
get the word
started
out.
trying to cross pollinate
Yeah.
on the social medias. I don't get on very often, honestly, but I have been trying to, like it up and share it out. And I didn't want to share my mug, but you get it. Um, but I will say there are follow-ups and there's ways to get attention that can't be ignored by the billionaire class, and that's coming up. That's May Day. May Day strong. So, Move to Amend is, we affirm that our movement has always known that to build real democracy, we really must challenge the concentration of wealth and power that distorts our public decisions, right? So that's what Mayday Strong's about. And it is going to be a day of dignity, of solidarity, of sovereign power, power of the people to govern ourselves. That's what this is about. It's about reclaiming this this idea that we the people, of, by, and for the people, is what our government should be about. And we're not asking permission. And we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep building. But we do have to affect some bottom lines to get some attention. And like 10 of the social media platforms are owned by billionaires and now trillionaires. We
And
know
and and
there's
and,
now
and
a
it's
trillionaire.
and it's getting worse and worse now with the Paramount being sold to the Ellison Group.
Right. And these monopolies, I mean, we have five major media organizations that own all of the media you know that comes across. So you're not getting a diversity of voices. I think it's John Oliver that plays those clips. I don't know if you've ever seen him in the beginning of the show, where he'll show like all of these broadcasters saying the exact same thing. They might change a sentence around every now and again, but on the same day, they get their directive. This is what you're covering. This is where your new
Yeah.
outrage is. This is the new people
Right.
that we are supposed to blame for our problems,
But
so that we don't blame the real, culprits of our problem, which is a system that has empowered corporations and allowed billionaires to get off scot-free. Somebody making 35, $40,000 is paying 20%, is in the 20% tax bracket. That's a huge hit to their income. And we are subsidizing billionaires and multinational corporations that are making record number of profits. And we're doing that at the cost of our schools. We're doing that at the cost of our health care. We're doing that at the cost of roads even. Have
yeah,
you been
yeah,
in
but for a
New Orleans
minute,
lately?
for a minute, let's get back to May Day. What exactly is it? What should the people do there, and how do they contact someone to be a part of it?
So it's no work, no schools, no shopping. Come together with your community, post on social media, um, have a picnic, but don't shop, don't go to school, and do not work. This is an economic blackout, and so it's kind of a test case. We don't know if we're ready for this yet. The first successful one we've had in our country since in my lifetime has been was at in Minnesota.
Yes, that was a successful one.
Mhm.
Shut
Yes,
down the
they
city.
shut it down. They shut it down, and it was successful. And guess what? What's
Yeah.
left?
Now, if I'm correct, it's May 1st is the day, May Day.
Yes, May Day.
That's a Friday, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and that's good because it's a 3-day
2 weeks
weekend.
away. Yeah, 3-day weekend. Get
So,
together
so
with
like,
your friends and family, join a rally, do a teach-in, um, do some creative public displays of solidarity, post on social media, but do not give one dime to the system. You could go to a local, buy local, you could go to your if there's a farmer's market in your
Mm.
community, you
that's
could go
true.
there, but
It-
but
it-
that's it.
is there a website people could go to get more information to participate?
Absolutely. Maydaystrong.org.
That's easy.
Maydaystrong.org.
Maystrong.org.
Yeah.
Mayday.strong.org. Everybody got that?
Right. But because of the
Yeah,
importance of this show, we're going to exceed our 20 minutes, and our normal 20 minutes is up, but we can continue.
oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So and the idea too is don't be afraid. I mean, right now people are scared. They're worried about, how they're going to pay their bills. They're worried about, if they get hurt, how are they going to pay or go to the doctor? And these are real, genuine concerns. Um, Together, we can change the trajectory of our country. I truly believe that. I've been sitting in spaces with folks, a lot of U.S. aid folks who have been are now out of a job. They've been working in other countries for most of their careers um, to bring tools and ways to bring democracy to their space to different countries and fledgling democracies, and now they're here working to try to bring democracy to America. And you and I both know for the first time, because since
Right.
our
And
founding 250 years ago.
it
um,
seems like more and more people are joining in on this action, people that would not have before. So that's good. We just need to get more and more people interested and feeling like it's okay to say something and do something.
8 million people came out for the last No Kings rally, but they represented millions more. I know tons of people that wanted to be there that couldn't because they had to work or they had other responsibilities, but they are in solidarity with us, creating a democracy of, by, and for the people. And that's not just a head note, or that's not just a talking point. It's what we can create as a reality. And that's what we see with the We the People Amendment, is that for the first time, um, all people could be represented. We this year is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and we at Move to Amend think of it as the declaration from corporate rule, right? Because that Tea Party was an anti-corporate rule party, right? It
Exactly.
They threw the tea in the Boston Harbor of the first multinational corporation the world has ever seen, that wanted to monopolize and to taxation without
Yeah,
representation, right?
wasn't that a taxation without representation when they wanted to put a tax on the tea?
Right. And demand that the only tea that can be uh, sold in the colonies was the the
They're
the Indian Tea Company, right? The
right from
first
the Indian.
multinational
Yeah.
corporation. So, you know, corporate rule and billionaire dominance are two heads of the same hydra, and the antidote is people power. You organized, united, and unafraid. And we can do this. We are doing this.
Yeah. Now,
Mayday.org.
how would people get involved with Move to Amend?
You could go to movetoamend.org and sign the petition. So movetoamend.org/motion, MOTION, and put your name in support of the We the People Amendment. You can volunteer. You can become an advocate in your community. We have affiliates and state coalitions all across the country. If there's not one in your space, please organize one. For me, this gets to the root. As we talked about before, I was a journalist covering the oil spill here in Florida when I really saw, and growing up in the military, I knew that, our military was often used for the benefit of oil companies, but I had never seen corporate power um, in action as heavy as I did during the oil spill here on the Gulf Coast, across the Gulf Coast. And honestly, I went into a kind of like a dark spot. And then Citizens United came down, and I'm like, this, what are we going to do? And then I learned about Move to Amend. And that's when I started volunteering with Move to Amend, because I felt like this gets to the root of all the issues that I hold dear, that, about protecting my family and having safety in our democracy, and about our environment, and, putting people over profits. That's what this step would do. And
It's
more
a place
recently,
for all the
it really
passions dear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it,
well, speaking about the oil spill, I don't know if you know, in California, they just gave the rights to do offshore drilling, and I forget how it was, about 20 miles off, which is very deep, to the same company that was responsible for the oil spill, that major oil spill. It's the same company,
yeah.
and
Well,
they just got the rights.
this company's been around for hundreds of years, right? See, that's the thing. A corporation doesn't die. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't care what it does to the environment. Its only
They're on
purpose, its
fire.
sole purpose, is to make profit,
To make
right?
money.
So, as you know, we're in another war with Iran, and the Iranian Anglo Oil Company used to be the name of BP. They changed the name after the U.S. government helped overthrow um, their first duly elected.
The B
Um,
stands for
what's that?
British. The B stands for British.
Petroleum. Absolutely. They've
Yeah.
rebranded. They're the sunshine, like let the sunshine in. But and they're not alone. I mean, Exxon. You can name all of them. They're we can't get traction with renewables because the the entrenched power of the oil companies in our country, and we're giving them. They had an increase of subsidies in this administration while still having the most profitable year in their history of any corporation in history, and we're still giving them money. And that was another thing. Who was it? He's I can't remember his name. He works for Hegseth in the War Department instead of the Department of Defense, right? And this is the regime that was supposed to come in on peace actions, right? This is the peace president. And and I want to clarify, Move to Amend is nonpartisan or transpartisan, however you want to look at it. But we fall out when a legislator is not, or administrator is not working for we the people, and is working for profit.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I know Move
Margins.
to Amend is already well supported and well organized, and you have a whole lot of people numbers behind you, but we got to make you bigger because you're doing really, really great work. And I know all of you, I met a few of you there. So we just need to have you all back
Mm,
to keeping the word out
mm,
here.
Well, we don't take any corporate funding. We don't take any government
Right.
funding. So you can look, we are not part of the a
mm.
nonprofit industrial complex, if you will. We have a very small handful of people,
Very
no
hardworking people.
full-time employees, no full-time employees. Um, all of the work is being done
Yeah, but
primarily by volunteers.
well, it's built into the
Yeah,
system. It's built into the system that big money controls because our legislators, in the House, are elected for 2 years, and the first thing they do when they are reelected is start raising funds.
They have to. That's the way the system's designed.
Right,
And and for me, it's like a no-brainer. Wouldn't you rather go? I mean, most of them go there, no matter what their ideological, standpoints are. They go there to make change and to work for their constituents. I truly believe that. It's the system that corrupts it. And there's um there's some that don't take any corporate money. And if I hear that, then that gets my attention right off.
but
There's a whole caucus
yeah,
for
but they
that.
have to be reelected. That's the problem.
They have to be reelected, and not
And
everybody's
it's expensive now. I mean, well, like I don't see why the media, newspaper, radio, and television, which is federally owned, the air, why they charge those prices for the advertising. They shouldn't. They
a
should be
very good
regulated.
point. Right. And we did have like national public radio and television, public television that they're trying to gut too,
Right.
because it's the corporate takeover. Same with the post office. I mean, this is the long, it's the only department that, um, that funds itself besides our IRS. And it's been under attack because UPS and FedEx want to dominate and control what's coming in and out, control the mail and control it's for profit. And that's why they're trying to gut UPS. I remember, I don't know if y'all remember, but going postal was like this thing because there were so many demands put on them. They were breaking under the stress, some of the postal
Yes.
workers. And
Yeah.
and I didn't get that at the time, but I used that terminology. Now I
Yeah.
know what that was
You
about.
Well,
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I,
right now they're
I,
trying to gut it again. We have to save these institutions that are for people,
yeah,
not for profit.
I always admired our postal system where I could send a letter out today, just in regular postage, and to New York, and it could get there either tomorrow or the day after.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
It's been the foundation.
Yeah, there's no place in the world, any system, I think that is faster than the post office. And number two, which most people don't realize, the post office was not meant to be profit making. It's not a private business. It was supposed to be a public service.
Right. And they said, well, we want you to fund your retirement up through, 100 years from now. I mean, they keep
Mm.
changing the rules. They keep meeting the demand, but they keep changing the rules. And, this is a service for the people. And, just like they're trying with our schools, they're trying to make it all for-profit schools, these charter schools. It's just a fancy word for privatizing our education
Privatizing.
system. Yeah. And
Profit.
when you privatize, and I'm going to make this real quick point. I know we're way over time already, but when you're privatizing things like with the prison industrial complex or with our schools, it will continue to have to make money. So who's going to suffer? Where are they going to make those cuts to make sure that it stays in the profit margins? It's going to be cut to services. It's going to be the blankets for a prisoner, or it's going to be a book for a student, or So
Mhm.
I
Well,
don't know what else
yeah.
to say about that.
Anyway,
In corporate rule,
we're going to have you on for a marathon. Because now our half hour is up.
Okay, well, Jenny, say it again about Mayday Strong and how do people can find out about Move to Amend.
Okay, you can go to movetoamend.org. Tons of resources there. Please sign the motion. This is how when we go to legislators to try to get them to support the We the People Amendment, this is how we let them know who their constituents, how many constituents in their communities support this legislation. Plug in, become an advocate, movetoamend.org/become underscore an advocate and underscore advocate. But sign the motion, movetoamend.org/motion. Plug into your May Day event. That's maydaystrong.org. And the resources are there to get you connected with so far there's 600 events planned across the country. Even if you can't attend an event, no shopping, no schools, and no work.
Fantastic.
All
And one
right.
thing on a more personal level, we're going to have you back, not to talk about this, but we want to talk about your mother who's a vet and what's happening with her. And that's a very personal story, but there's a lot of stories like yours. You're not
Yeah,
unique.
Yeah.
she's my hero, and I would love to come and share her story
Okay.
and share other stories and what's happening with the
I'm sure
VA system
you're
currently.
her hero too.
Yeah.
You're her heroine. All right. Well, it's been a great show. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being here. We love having you, and we're going to have you back. So,
Thank
everyone,
you, Anna. I'd love to
we
be
hope
here.
you have enjoyed our show. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a message at malcolmpresents@gmail.com. I almost
Gmail.com.
said gmail.org, gmail.com. Remember, you can find us at malcolmpresents.com and on YouTube and Celebrating Everyday People on Facebook and Buzzsprout. Goodbye.
I thank you
Bye.
for all you do.